welcome to my channel. So this is my first review on this channel, and I wanted to review the first book in the Last Hours trilogy, Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I'm late to the hype train, however, I really like this book and I wanted to give my opinions and just give a small review on this. I thought it was a pretty good book, and this book chronologically follows the Infernal Devices within the Shadowhunter series. This is also the fourth installation. So this review will be split up into two parts. The first part is a non-spoiler review where I just talk about things that I had an opinion on. However, like I said, it's non-spoilery. And then a spoiler review where I go more into detail about my opinions and also kind of talk about what I thought worked and what didn't work and what could have been improved on in the book as a whole. So if you're reading this book or you just want someone to talk in the back, I'm glad that you're joining me, and I'm glad that I can just be that voice to distract you while everything going on is happening. So in Chain of Gold, we're following 12 main characters. However, I would say the three that we follow the most are Cordelia Carstairs, James Herondale, and Lucy Herondale. Cordelia and her brother Alistair Carstairs have moved to London, and they've moved to London because their father has been put on trial for a crime, and Cordelia isn't quite sure what this crime fully is. She only knows small details about it. And Cordelia's mother wants to marry Cordelia off in order to not only help their family's reputation, but also get their father a possible lighter sentence. So as you can guess from this book being chronologically after the Infernal Device series, the characters from the Infernal Devices are now all grown up and now they're parents, so we're following their kids. And I'm sure you can tell from the Herondale last name, James and Lucy are the kids of Tessa and Will. I'm not going to get into all the connections because when you read the book, you'll be able to understand it. It does get a bit complicated though, and that does become a problem a bit. However, I'll get into that later into the review. I just want to talk now about like the basic premise of the book. So Cordelia Carstairs is in love with James Herondale. However, we find out through the book that James Herondale has an understanding with a girl named Grace Blackthorne. This becomes a bit complicated because while Cordelia has just come to London, so has Grace, and tensions kind of rise as Cordelia deals with her feelings for James and Grace is dealing with other things, but we're not quite sure what Grace is dealing with at the beginning of the book. We're also brought up the question of who James' grandparents are, specifically his grandfather, because we all know that Tessa's dad was a demon. However, we now found out that he is possibly a higher demon, and so now James needs to find out who his grandfather is due to the fact that like he can go in between worlds, and this is now causing problems within his everyday life. Another problem that our Shadowhunters are facing is that London has a lack of demons, which is really surprising because the rest of the world demon activity is like completely normal. And because now our children are dealing with the fact that there is no demons, they've kind of become content with the fact that they're not fighting demons, which does become a problem later within the book. I would definitely give this book about 4 stars because this is exactly what I expected from Cassandra Clare. It did entertain me, it did what it needed to do. I do like her flowery writing. I think it's pretty entertaining. I just happen to enjoy her writing, though I do get why some people do not enjoy how she writes because it's a bit ridiculous at times and it kind of over exaggerates what's happening. When you're reading a Cassandra Clare book, it gets really angsty, and I expected that. However, a lot of people don't like this ridiculous soap opera like angst. The kind of angst I'm talking about is the kind that's just gonna punch you in the gut and just tell you you're a little bitch, and it's just gonna like beat you over the head with it constantly of just like, oh, woe is me, and it's just a little bit ridiculous. And this does definitely follow Cassandra Clare's formula. If you read her other books, then you definitely know what I'm talking about. However, if you haven't, I definitely recommend reading those books because while this can be read as like a standalone, it's just much more enjoyable when you have the other books to like take reference from. So getting a bit more into like the other 12 characters, they just get introduced to you so fast, and it's sad to say, but a lot of them fall very flat. And it just becomes a bit ridiculous, and it is a bit of a problem because Cassandra Clare is trying to focus on too many like eggs at once, and it just kind of ruins a bit of the momentum of the book because it feels more like they're there just to be like, look, your ships had kids from the Infernal Devices. One thing I totally enjoyed was the fact that there was several LGBTQ plus characters. Like, they are absolutely solid. And Cassandra Clare has like involved LGBTQ plus characters within her book. She always has, and she's always tried to involve them within her books. And I feel like really happy that she does do this, because I don't think a lot of YA authors try to touch on it, especially like the more straight YA authors, which can be a bit of a problem, and it kind of lacks diversity within the whole genre. Now, I'm not going to say they're written perfectly, because it is a bit inconsistent, especially within the rest of the series, because if you guys read The Mortal Instruments, you would know that Alec from The Mortal Instruments is gay, and he has to hide the fact that he's gay. However, in this book, we have Anna Lightwood, who's dressing as a man and loves women, but no one has a problem with it. I will say I think that Cassandra Clare gets away with this, and the reason I say that she can kind of get away with this is because the opinions that we're getting aren't from like the adults. We're getting this from people who grew up with these characters. Like, they've all known each other since they were kids, and so then you kind of understand why they're much more accepting of them. Like, definitely I think that there could have been a bit more of like, oh, maybe this is something I need to think about. Have I been closed-minded? Have I made my like family or made my friend or made like this person feel uncomfortable around me? Have I said something that made them not want to share this part with me? And I think it can get into a really interesting conversation, but I also don't expect that Cassandra Clare would get that deep into like gender politics and into like what it means to be a gay person, especially within the 1800s. So there is a bit of like a mystery going on, and there's like not just one mystery with the like demons that are now coming back to London and how they're harming like shadow hunters, and shadow hunters are dying because they've never dealt with demons like this. And then we're also dealing with the mystery of like Jesse Blackthorne, who is a shadow hunter who died like years before this book started, and we're also seeing like what is happening around him, because I think the main mystery is focused around him more so rather than the other demons, but you'll understand once you read the book if you wish to read the book. So that's it for my non-spoiler reviews. I'm sorry that it's really short. It's kind of hard for me to explain without getting into spoilers, because anything you kind of say with this book is just going to immediately be like, oh, this is a spoiler, you know? But I thank you guys for joining me, and if you don't want to hear spoilers past this point, then thank you and have a great day. Stay safe, you know, and I hope you all are doing well. But now that we're in the spoiler section, welcome! I'm going to start off with the spoiler section just saying I felt like a teen again. I hadn't read Cassandra Clare in a long time. I still have to finish up like the Dark Artifices. Yeah, I have to finish up the Dark Artifices still, and I'm trying to like finish that, but it kind of lost my interest. I'm definitely gonna go back and read it, but when I saw that this book came out, I was like, I don't know, maybe I won't read it. But then I was just like, why not? When we're starting off with the characters, Matthew Fairchild, I have to start off with my man, Matthew motherfucking Fairchild. Okay? You ever seen a smooth motherfucker? A smooth fucking motherfucker who's an absolute dumbass? Because that is what you get. You get Matthew fucking Fairchild. Not only is he the life of the party, he probably has the most angst out of any of these characters, and I'm just like, I want to protect this man. Cassandra Clare, you literally created my type. Other than James and Julian, you created my type. You seem to understand what I like. I think this was one of the things that totally disappointed me in the book, was we did not get enough of like Matthew's perspective, because I just wanted to see more about Matthew. I wanted to hear more about Matthew. I wanted to understand his feelings in more depth. He's definitely got a lot of mystery surrounded by him, and I can tell everyone's worried about him because he is an alcoholic, and I'm just like, no, maybe, oh god. Which, I don't know how Cassandra Clare is quite handling it. I'm not saying it's the worst, but I definitely think it can be improved, especially something as touchy as that. And I'm just gonna get it out of the way, I am a Cordelia and Matthew shipper, okay? Don't even at me. I feel like they have more chemistry than James and Cordelia. Like, unpopular opinion, but am I wrong? And I know it's like totally unfair to say that James and Cordelia didn't have any chemistry. Because like, let's be honest, they did have chemistry, and you could tell that they had feelings for each other before the book started. However, James's like feelings are very muddled. James is being controlled by a bracelet, which I have no idea how no one is seeing this bracelet's controlling him, considering the bracelet literally says, "Loyalty binds me," and every time Grace is near, he goes crazy, and the only thoughts he has in his head is about Grace. So I'm like, no one's questioning it. It's just, oh, it's a Herondale boy. What do you expect? But then again, look at Will. But like, I'll get more into James and like that whole thing after, but right now I just really want to see more from Matthew, and I'm just gonna say it, like, I really hope that Cordelia and Matthew end up together. I know they're not, because that's how it happens. We never win. However, I'm just like, please, I want to see the wedding bells. Instead of having this angsty, like, Herondale win, because I'm tired of the Herondales winning. I really am. I just want to see fucking Matthew winning over here. A second male lead who has, like, a character arc that needs to be overcome, and learning to be emotionally stable and learning to better himself for those who he loves, and realizing I have a problem and I have emotional package and I just need to deal with it. Plus, he just gives off the vibe of like Jem and Julian, and I absolutely love them. They're my absolute favorite characters in the entire series, like, baby boy. Now, I'm gonna get into James. Now, James's story definitely is another focus, and it does have to deal with like Jesse Blackthorn's mystery and like his tie to Grace Blackthorn. So at the beginning, we know that James is in love with Grace Blackthorn, and we know that he thinks of her like obsessively. We're talking every single day. Like, he'll look at something stupid. He's looking at a dead bird, and then he's just like, Grace had hair that was that white. Like, damn, I miss her. And he didn't even see her for one summer, and suddenly he's freaking the fuck out. However, I now understand after reading about Grace, but that's for later. And like, James is battling with himself, because when he thinks about Grace, he's just like, she's beautiful, she's mine, I love her, I need to do everything for her. He's literally enslaved, and that's not an actual joke. He's enslaved to Grace because of the bracelet that she put on him to be like, will you always be mine? And he didn't find Grace particularly beautiful until like he put on the bracelet. Now we have to talk quickly about like James being like not even half, like a quarter demon, you know, and the fact that his grandfather is Belial, and Belial cannot travel to the human world like the other higher demons. And so he wants to use James' body to get to the human world, and that's why he is constantly going in and out of like the realm. I don't think there was great build up for it. I had a kind of suspicion, but other than like a throwaway line within the book, I could not tell that Belial was the grandfather. It kept pointing towards Belphegor. I can't say names right. I am sorry. And like, getting into James and Cordelia's relationship, it feels more so physical rather than like emotional, specifically on James' side. Like, Cordelia is completely emotional. She constantly thinks about like, oh my god, he is such a sweet boy. When he reads, I can tell he's truly reading. She knows all his hobbies. She knows his fucking favorite color. This woman knows him. But then, and I get it, it's because of him being enslaved, but it's also like James doesn't think shit about Cordelia. What he's thinking is fucking like, well, damn, she's hot. Like, it's more so physical, you know? Like, when he's with Grace, he thinks like, well, Cordelia's body's softer, Cordelia smells nicer. It usually comes off to me as more of a physical attraction rather than like emotional, and I think that's kind of why James is like so easily bound to Grace with the curse on him, like with the bracelet, because right now his feelings aren't really that of love, but more so that of physical attraction turning into romantic attraction. Now, I totally think Cassandra Clare can do that, and I think that'd actually be a nice build-up where it's like two people learning that like, oh, what we have is physical attraction, but also turning into romantic attraction. I think that can be interesting, but right now, to me, I'm just like, that chemistry isn't really love, and I don't give a shit, you know? And I just got frustrated, like Matthew at the end, watching Cordelia dance with James, and just being like James and Cordelia get like married at the end of the book, you know, because Cordelia, for some reason, couldn't think of an excuse to save James when he's being accused of burning down the Blackthorn house, and is like, he's been with me all night. And I'm just sitting here like, why didn't you all say that you were together? Now, I get it's a kind of heat in the moment or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, fair enough, you go do you, and this is just gonna move the plot along. Though at the end, I think it does prove that James, even while he is like enraptured with Grace, that he does care for Cordelia, because he's like, you know what, when we're married for this year, I am not going to cheat on you. Even if I want to like get with Grace, I'm not going to cheat on you. I promise. I'm not going to smash. Now, Grace motherfucking Blackthorn is a good villain. No one can convince me otherwise. She's an absolute bitch, but I understand her. Like, I understand Grace. You know, she's coming from an abusive household. Tatiana is using her and, like, neglects her severely. And Grace is having to, like, use and manipulate James, and I really don't think she wants to. You can tell that she's paying to do this because she does care for James. James is pretty much her only friend. However, Grace does love her brother much more than she loves, like, James. And she wants to revive Jesse because Jesse has a chance of being revived. So yeah, she's going to work with Tatiana, and Tatiana has raised her and has pretty much indoctrinated her into being like, yep, this is how it is. This is what I need to do. She's also being threatened by Belial, and what are you going to do? She's never been trained. She's literally been forced into a corner, so I understand her. Plus, Grace breaking James' heart and going for someone with a much higher status than him, we can get that, you know, when you are in a situation and you're really desperate. Had Grace probably not made that move, she probably would have never been able to get out. I do feel it was a bit too on the nose, though, you know, with the whole bracelet thing and just with how Grace was acting and how James was acting. Like, the minute I saw loyalty binds me and learned that it was from Grace, I was like, oh. And, you know, when I look at Grace and James, I definitely think James needs to be separated from her, and I think Grace needs to be separated from them. However, I don't want Grace to be killed, and I don't want something bad to happen to Grace. Particularly, I want her to be helped. I want the other Shadowhunters to be like, I understand you're in a bad fucking situation. Here you go. Like, lend a hand to her, because she doesn't have a choice here. And I know that she's like choosing to do this, but honestly, what would you do in that situation? Are you straight up just gonna be like, yeah, I can't protect myself and I can't have people protecting me 24/7, but you know what? Fuck these people. Like, no, she's literally being hunted down if she does not follow these orders. And, you know, with Grace and James, their feelings, I'm just kind of like, I'm a bit upset that James doesn't have, like, actual feelings for Grace. It's more so like pity, and I'm just like, that doesn't make sense to me, because he spent so much more time with Grace and actually talked with her, got to know her, who she is, and like, but he had one serious intimate moment as children with Cordelia, and suddenly he's in love with Cordelia. It just didn't seem realistic to me, and was honestly a bit stupid. Now I'm gonna get into the ghost fucker herself, Lucy Herondale. Now, I don't know how everyone, especially Belial, I mean, Belial knows he can take over Lucy's, like, body, but how is he looking over at James, who can just go between the worlds and be like, you are perfect for me to take over, but then is just kind of like looking over his granddaughter, who can control the dead? We're talking she can touch the dead, she can talk to them. She's one step away from fucking them. I don't understand how he's just kind of like, whatever. Like, she's making the dead do her bidding. They have to listen to her. They have literally no choice. And, like, Lucy and Jesse's romance, I actually really like, and I think it's being built up pretty decently. Like, I'm excited to see what's gonna come out of it, you know, especially when it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, she's at a marriable age, and I know that Will's like, I want my kid to get married, especially if it's a Carstairs. You know, like, we get it, Will. You really love the Carstairs. I do too. Like, there's a lot more to be built on Lucy, because right now it's just, there's so much mystery around her, and she's definitely more powerful than James. I'm just saying. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen there. Now I'm just going to do a quick round of the other characters, because honestly they all felt pretty flat to me. So Thomas, the most that you need to know about him is he's an absolute himbo in love with Alistair. However, he does not know that he's in love with Alistair. Alistair is Cordelia's brother. He's an absolute jackass, but I do love him. He is gay, and he is getting with Matthew's older brother, Charles. However, at the end of the book, they do break up. Kit, or Christopher Lightwood, is pretty much just like a plot device. Like, he's an absolute dumbass, and he's really dangerous, but he is just a plot device, sadly. Like, I don't know. Like, he feels like Livia from The Dark Artifices, so I'm just like, Anna Lightwood is literally the most popular character, and she can fucking dominate me. Now that we're past those characters who kind of like mean the most, honestly, I'm going to get into our girl, Cordelia. So I just really like Cordelia. She's just an interesting and fun character. Like, she's also just really nice. She's a breath of fresh air, and I think she's my favorite, like, Shadowhunter protagonist in the entire series, just due to the fact that she's not trying to, like, emasculate men. She's not shitting on other women, and she's in touch with her femininity, and she understands that, like, she is a woman, and that women deal with, like, certain oppressions. She's a woman of color, so she also knows that she's constantly being compared to white women, which I'm like, damn, Cassandra, you touching on that. I'm not saying it's touched on, like, a lot, which is sad, but it is touched on enough where I'm like, okay, I want to see more of this, because this brings up an interesting conversation that does need to be had. Plus, Cordelia is a really loving and kind character, which I am just like so happy about, because she's realistic about things. When James tells her that he doesn't love her and he's in love with Grace Blackthorne, it does hurt her, and she's sad, you know, angsty about it. She's a fucking teen. However, she's like, I hope the two of you are happy, and I will support you, because that is what a friend does. She also tells Matthew and Alistair, who come out to her. Matthew is bisexual, Alistair is gay. Well, she finds out Alistair's gay, but she opens up to him, and she's like, I'm here for you, and I want to see you both happy, and I am ready to support you. Like, Cordelia is an ally, and she wants to make a difference. Cordelia is like a really positive influence, and I don't think we see that a lot in like YA novels, where they just want to uplift others. They genuinely do want to help others out of the goodness of their heart, and they're just really positive and nice to be around, and they uplift others' moods. You know, she's not trying to be snarky or be an asshole, but she can crack jokes, and it's pretty funny. Though, while I really do like Cordelia, it's really sad to say, but she's a passive protagonist. Like, girl does nothing. She's just there for the ride. She does not really make any decisions. I think she made 2 decisions in the entire book, and that was about it. The rest of the characters are pretty much telling her what to do, and then she's just there. Which I'm like, what are you doing? Like, aren't you supposed to be the protagonist? Like, you want to be a hero, then start doing it. Like, start doing stuff that really can be considered hero-like. Like, she does help James in his fight against Belial, but, like, she gets captured right away, and it isn't until the end when she stabs him does she, like, make a contribution, really, to the fight. Other than her being there and James being like, I'm gonna protect Cordelia, there's not much there for her to do. She's just trapped in, like, James, help me. And so it's just like, a lot of these characters do fall flat, and there needs to be a lot fleshing out going on, because in comparison to the other characters in the other books, of course, because they are finished, these characters are just not great, you know, and I totally get why they need a lot of improvement. But I definitely do see Cassandra Clare, like, improving on them and fleshing them out and making them full-blown characters when we get to the other 2 books, which I'm definitely going to pre-order. So, like, at the end of the book, and this is, like, kind of my theory, you know, just what I'm wondering what's going to happen within the next 2 books. Lucy's now working with Grace, and James is now back in love with Grace because he has the bracelet back on. And I'm wondering how this is going to affect Cordelia. I'm hoping for more Matthew and Cordelia moments, so then after Cordelia feels like she's lonely, like, I'm not wanting my girl to be lonely, but I want these moments. But yeah, I want to see how she's going to deal with, like, her husband James and, like, his feelings towards Grace, and, like, how she handles that emotionally, and how she deals with the fact that Lucy's going to be spending a lot more time with Grace. Like, what's going to happen there? Because they're going to become parabatai, and I'm just like, oh shit, you know? And Lucy can't tell Cordelia any of this, so this is only going to cause rifts in their, like, relationship, and I'm actually more scared for that relationship rather than Cordelia and James. So we have a lot of build up for the next books, and I am just excited, and I'm like, let's go, you know, I just want to see what's going to happen to these characters, because now I'm invested, and I'm going back and reading all Cassandra Clare's old books, not the Mortal Devices, but, you know, the other ones, and I'm just like, Cassandra Clare, I'm ready to feel 17 again. So that's the end of my review, and I want to say thank you guys for joining me on my first video, joining me on my first review. I definitely have more books planned because I'm reading several different other books that I'm like, I have opinions about this and I need to get this out. And I hope that all of you are staying safe, Now, I just want to bring up really quickly that there are protests in name of George Floyd, and I want to say that I am in support of these protests. So if you guys can donate anything and can help to the cause, I will be putting links down below. So then after, you guys can get up to date on like what you can do to like help this cause. But that's it for this video. I'll see you next time.